Hi, and welcome to the latest in skills-based health education with Holly Alperin and Sarah Bennis. And I'm Holly Alperin. I'm a clinical assistant professor at the University of New Hampshire.
And I am Sarah Bennis. I'm an associate clinical professor at Merrimack College.
And here's where you can find us if you want to learn more or hear more about skills-based health ed. So we're doing this session because skills-based health ed started with human kinetics, or when we started with human kinetics, we created three foundational texts: the Essentials of Teaching Health Education, which provided the nuts and bolts and the ins and outs and everything that you might want to know to start on your skills-based health ed journey, which was then followed by the lesson planning for skills-based health ed at the secondary level, and also now lesson planning for skills-based elementary health education. Both of these lesson planning books provide you with the foundation and unit plans, lesson plans, activities, and performance tasks and rubrics for each of the 7 skills of the National Health Education Standards. Since we began on this journey and since we first published the Essentials of Teaching Health Education, we've revised a few things and have recently released the 2nd edition of this text.
So what we thought would be a really useful focus for our presentation today is to let you know what some of those updates are. We're not going to go through all of them. It's sort of like a sneak preview of some of the more significant ways that we have changed some things up in our 2nd edition. So the first thing we're going to talk about is our updated definition for skills-based health ed. So you can see here, I won't read the whole definition right now, but what I will focus on is highlighting some of the things that are new. So one of the first things that's new is you'll see that we have added that the learning experiences are implemented through socio-ecological and socio-cultural perspectives. So one of the shifts that we've made is to really recognize the importance of the context within which we are all working on our health and well-being. And so really making sure that this is a foundational part of our health education and our skills-based health education approach. And then you'll see we changed a little bit at the end related to the maintenance, enhancement, or promotion of health and well-being of self and others. So again, not just focusing on developing these skills for the individual benefit, but really thinking about how we take these skills and what we're learning in a skills-based approach, to help those around us, and maybe even, beyond that into our communities and even bigger. And then we also have added this piece around across multiple dimensions of wellness, because we really recognize, again, the importance of introducing students to this bigger picture of what it means to be, I'm even going to put in quotes, well, right? What does it mean to be healthy? What does well-being look like? What does it mean for us? And really making sure that we are integrating both a holistic perspective in terms of what we understand health and well-being to be, and then also introducing them to this idea that we are all working on this within that bigger context of our environment and the social determinants of health and these bigger picture components as well.
We've also updated the skill development model. So as in previous, the model still has 5 steps, but we've broken it up to really articulate and help teachers to articulate for their students the way that skill development happens in the classroom. So if we think about the first 3 steps as being part of skill instruction, we're first introducing the skill, the definition, the relevance, the outcomes, what this means to students in your classroom at this time, and so really giving it a frame. The next step, skill cues, or the critical elements. We've added in this word critical elements because we want it to be sure to resonate with folks that sometimes skill cues just feel kind of big and amorphous, but these really are, how do you do the skill in a practical way and that is likely to lead towards these positive health outcomes that we're striving for. Once we've helped our students to understand what the steps are, then we want to model the skill. We want to show the skill being applied effectively and highlight those critical elements for students within that modeling so that they can see what it looks like, they can see how it pertains to them, and they can see it being done thoughtfully, thoroughly, and effectively. The next part is skill practice. And so it's both practice and it's feedback. We know from learning theory that the best way for individuals and humans to retain information and new learning and then to use it in settings outside of where they learned it is to receive feedback. So we want to give our students lots of time to practice a skill in authentic settings and situations and give them meaningful feedback. So the feedback could be through teacher-directed feedback, also through peer feedback and individual reflection and feedback on their own work. That would include then revision and reapplication. The final section here is skill performance. And so step 5 has been switched up a little as well. So step 5 used to be feedback and reinforcement, and now it's assess the skill and support transfer. So we have in step 4, practice, we've received feedback, now we're assessing the skill. This is where your performance tasks are going to come in. This is also the place where we're going to encourage students to think about what this skill looks like outside of the classroom, when they're to use it in their real world with their friends and peers and family and the people around them and in their community. So we want to not only assess so that we as the health educators can measure what our students know and are able to do, we want to support our students' ability to transfer that learning outside of the classroom. The goal then is ultimately to help students increase self-efficacy, their belief in their ability to do something so that they have agency to take control of their health and lead health-enhancing lives. This use of the term agency is really intentional. We've moved away from the word empowerment and toward the word agency. The word empowerment implies that power can be given and taken away. Rather, we want our young people to understand and increase their belief in their ability, their self-efficacy, to do something and then see that foundationally and fundamentally within themselves what they possess and how they're going to achieve that. Now, having said that, when we develop agency, that's not to say that our young people don't still need supports around them. What agency really is that they see what's possible. And they see that by engaging the supports around them, that they have it within themselves to move in that direction. And in our case, likely towards positive health and well-being.
And actually, can you just stay here for 1 second, Holly? I just wanted to add to build on what you were just saying, that I think the other piece that's important to recognize is that agency is a little bit more of a strength-based approach, right? So we're thinking about building on the assets and the strengths that students have and to support that agency. And then, like you said, sort of within that context of also recognizing, what's possible and also helping them see, where some barriers exist and how we can work to minimize those barriers either on a personal level or potentially even more broadly at a systemic level. So, we're going to wrap up by giving you, again, just a little bit of context. You hear that word a lot in this 15 minutes, about why we made some of the changes that we made. And we can really sort of break it down into sort of 2 big buckets. So the first is that word again, context matters, and really recognizing how important it is for us as health educators to be intentional about recognizing the context in our teaching. So like we have to do the work of understanding, what are the upstream factors that are impacting health and well-being? What are the social, political, economic, environmental factors that are influencing everyone's health and well-being? And how do we sort of honor that, and how do we bring that into our teaching in a way that supports that agency within this bigger picture of what's going on? And so, we really try to spend more time, in the revisions and in the work that we're doing recently, not only addressing that context, but also really thinking about how health education and we do say should, be taught through equity and justice approaches, that's really a foundational aspect of our work as health educators, is to do that. And so, really try to pull in more of that work. And, Holly and I are doing our own work, both personally and professionally, to grow in this area. And just there's such a rich opportunity, for us to support equity and justice, sort of in that bigger picture, more outward, and also just to make sure that we are honoring and affirming and valuing all our students in our classes. It's sort of these like this two perspectives we can look at it through, right? Like we need to be making sure that our classrooms are equitable and just, and health education is this amazing opportunity to think about how we use the skills that we're teaching in the skills-based approach to address these issues in the broader kind of, world. And I guess that leads to this next point here, that students deserve trauma-informed, culturally responsive and sustaining, inclusive and affirming health education experiences. And again, we're using strong language there. We recognize that, but we really believe and are passionate about the fundamental importance of these approaches in health education. And then, as Holly pointed out, within all this, we want to be thinking about how we effectively support skill development so that students can apply these skills and transfer them in new settings. So we've revised the visual. It's really the visual of the model, along with, as Holly pointed out, some of the languaging, again, trying to really be intentional about those pieces so that the model is reflecting the importance of skill practice, as really one of the biggest and most critical steps in the ability to help students then be able to apply the skill. And also that it hopefully highlights more clearly the importance of feedback both during practice and assessment. Kind of previously, it focused a little bit more on the feedback in the assessment piece, but really the way that we develop our self-efficacy around these skills is through practice opportunities through which we're getting feedback. So, hopefully these changes will help advance your practice as it has helped advance our practice. And we really look forward to, continuing to support the work of skills-based health educators and helping create a class that is really relevant, meaningful, and supportive of students' health and well-being.
And Sarah, as you had mentioned, I think it's really important just to re-highlight is that this is really coming at health education from a strengths-based approach,
Mm-hmm.
and recognizing that health education can be an opportunity for our young people to be brave in safe spaces, to really explore and critically think about what it is they care about, what it is they value, and how to live in a world and create a space in a world where health is valued, and that
Mm-hmm.
for each person in the room and in our communities around us. And so when we approach teaching in this way, we honor them, we value them, as you had said, and we really have a great opportunity to move away from, even more so, right, just information sharing, to opportunities for our young people to be the change agents that they inherently have inside them to be.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks for being with us today, and we appreciate your
Absolutely.
listening.
Yeah, thanks. Let us know how we can help you on your journey.